Ever notice how the person who seems to understand everything somehow knows the least number of people? Not acquaintances, not Instagram followers, actual friends. Maybe you've seen it at work. There's that one person who's sharp, thoughtful, always asking interesting questions. They can break down complex problems in seconds. But when Friday night comes around, they're not surrounded by a giant social circle. Sometimes they're alone. Sometimes they prefer it that way. And if you're honest, maybe that person is you. Maybe you've noticed something strange. The more deeply you think about things, the harder it becomes to find people you genuinely connect with. Conversations start to feel repetitive. Small talk feels like mental elevator music. And social gatherings, after about an hour, your brain quietly whispers, okay, that's enough humanity for today. It might seem ironic. Intelligence is supposed to make life easier, right? More opportunities, better conversations, bigger networks. But psychology shows something unexpected. People who think deeply often end up with smaller social circles. Not because they can't make friends, but because their minds work differently. Once you understand the psychology behind it, that quiet solitude starts to make more sense. Picture a party, music playing, laughter echoing, glasses clinking in the background. A group of people are chatting about weekend plans, reality shows, or office gossip. Nearby stands someone listening quietly. They smile politely, nod occasionally, but their mind seems somewhere else. Not because they're bored, but because their brain is busy connecting dots, analyzing what people are saying, wondering why humans behave the way they do in social groups. After a while, they quietly step outside for fresh air. Silence. Suddenly their energy comes back. This is the deep thinker. Highly intelligent people tend to process information constantly. Their minds rarely switch off. While most social environments thrive on light conversation, deep thinkers crave something different, meaningful dialogue. They want conversations that explore ideas, emotions, and the reasons behind human behavior. But here's the problem. Those conversations are rare. So when most interactions stay on the surface, the deep thinker slowly pulls back, not out of arrogance and not because they think others are beneath them. Their brain is simply hungry for a different kind of stimulation. When they can't find it, solitude becomes satisfying. When you're alone, your mind can wander anywhere. Now imagine someone who has dozens of acquaintances. Their phone buzzes constantly. Group chats are active. Invitations to parties arrive every weekend. Yet something doesn't feel right. Conversations start blending together. Relationships feel thin. Eventually they realize something uncomfortable. Most of these connections are shallow. So they start quietly trimming their social circle. They say no to more invitations. They stop maintaining friendships that feel forced. Slowly, their social world becomes smaller but stronger. This is the selective connector. Psychologists often find that highly intelligent individuals place enormous value on authenticity. They're less interested in social quantity and far more focused on social depth. One meaningful conversation can feel more satisfying than 10 casual ones. But deep relationships take time and trust. Not everyone wants that level of connection. So instead of spreading their attention across dozens of relationships, selective connectors invest in a few people who truly understand them. Maybe 2 friends, maybe 3. From the outside, it might look like loneliness, but from the inside, it feels more like clarity. Then there's another pattern that often surprises people. Picture someone sitting alone in a quiet cafe, a laptop open, a notebook filled with scribbles, ideas flowing from one page to the next. Hours pass without them noticing, and they're completely absorbed. To them, solitude isn't emptiness, it's fuel. This is the independent mind. Research suggests that people with higher cognitive ability often enjoy activities that require long periods of uninterrupted focus, reading, creating, researching, building ideas. Socializing, on the other hand, breaks that rhythm. Every interaction requires attention, emotional energy, and mental processing. For many intelligent individuals, that energy is limited, so they protect it. Not because they dislike people, but because their mind thrives in quiet environments where thoughts can fully develop. For the independent mind, solitude is mental recovery, and sometimes it's also where their best ideas are born. But here's the twist most people don't expect. Sometimes having fewer friends isn't about thinking too much, it's about seeing too much. Imagine meeting someone new. The conversation seems pleasant enough, but within minutes you start noticing small inconsistencies. Their tone changes depending on who they're talking to. Their stories don't quite line up. Nothing dramatic, just subtle signals. Many highly perceptive individuals pick up on these patterns quickly. Their brains constantly read between the lines, tone of voice, body language, hidden motives. Once you start seeing those layers, it becomes difficult to ignore them. This can create social fatigue, not because people are bad, but because the mental effort of constantly analyzing behavior becomes exhausting. So some intelligent individuals simplify their social lives. They avoid complicated relationships, keep their circles small, and invest energy only in people who feel emotionally safe. Here's something important to remember. Having fewer friends doesn't automatically mean someone is intelligent, and intelligent people are not destined for isolation. But there is a pattern that appears often enough to notice. The deeper someone tends to think, the more intentional they become about who they spend their time with. Intentional choices often lead to smaller circles, but those circles can be incredibly meaningful. Think about friendships that last for decades, the ones where silence isn't awkward, where conversations drift into philosophy late at night, where you can admit confusion or vulnerability without pretending to have everything figured out. Those friendships are rare, but they're powerful. Many deep thinkers would rather have a few of those relationships than 100 surface level connections. There's also another quiet reason intelligent people sometimes appear socially distant. They spend a lot of time inside their own minds. Curiosity leads them down endless rabbit holes. One question leads to another. One idea opens the door to 10 more. Before they realize it, an entire evening has passed exploring thoughts. For some personalities, that inner world is incredibly rich. It's like having a conversation with yourself that never really ends. And for them, it's deeply fulfilling, which means social interaction competes with something powerful, their own curiosity, and curiosity often wins. But here's the final piece of the puzzle. Solitude is not the same as loneliness. Loneliness feels like being disconnected from the world. Solitude, on the other hand, is chosen. It's a quiet space where the mind can breathe. Many intelligent people discover they need both meaningful connection and intentional solitude, a few trusted voices, and plenty of silence in between. Once that balance is found, life feels less noisy, more focused, more real. So if you've ever looked around and noticed your social circle is smaller than most, it might not mean you're antisocial. It might simply mean you value depth over noise. So now I'm curious, do you recognize yourself in any of these patterns? Are you the deep thinker who craves meaningful conversations? The selective connector who chooses a few close friends over many acquaintances? Or the independent mind who finds creativity and clarity in solitude? Maybe it's you. Maybe it's someone you know. Either way, the next time you meet someone who keeps their circle small, don't assume they're distant. Sometimes the quietest people simply have the richest inner worlds. And sometimes the most interesting conversations start in the quietest places. If you like this video, make sure to like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss any update. Also, share it with your friends